Welcome back to the Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you on a Wednesday. Glad to take your phone calls and your emails, too, at 866-HEY-LARS. We call it the best conversation in talk journalism and honestly provocative talk for Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. Today's Twitter poll, just in time for Northwest mask mandates, has the Delta COVID variant already peaked? I would answer yes to that based on the evidence, but hey, you can just believe Inslee and Brown if you prefer to go that direction. You can answer the Twitter poll at Lars Larson Show or at LarsLarson.com. Always brought to you by Ultimate Truck Services. If you rely on trucks for business, Ultimate keeps your biggest assets on the road and running right. Find them at UltimateTruckService.com. Yesterday, I asked you this question: should your doctor refuse to treat you if you are unvaccinated? There are doctors and nurses and healthcare institutions that are discussing that. In fact, there was a largely symbolic walkout in Florida the other day by doctors who said, we don't want to treat the people who are unvaccinated. 91% of you said no, your doctor should not refuse to treat you. Only 8% of you said yes to that question. In any case, you can answer the Twitter poll at Twitter at Lars Larson Show or on our website, which is free from all that nasty censorship that Jack Dorsey likes over at Twitter. There's a rally that is happening tonight. It's in the state of Washington. It's to help parents who feel they're having their rights and the rights of their children trampled on by the schools and the government. And Heidi St. John joins me now. She's going to be at that rally, I believe. She is running to replace Congresswoman Jamie Herrera Butler. I have to admit I have a dog in the fight because Jamie Herrera Butler has been my member of Congress for the last several years. There was a time when I supported her. Not lately, because she's gone the other direction, and I don't think that's good for the district she represents, and Heidi St. John would like to be her replacement. Heidi, welcome back to the program.
Hey, Lars, thanks for having me.
So tell me about this rally that's going on, that's going to be aimed at, I guess, asserting the protection of citizen rights, including the rights particularly of parents and students.
Yeah, so tonight is the Freedom Rally. This is actually my rally. It's put on by my run for Congress. Representative Jim Walsh will be there. Ray Reynolds, who's running for sheriff in Clark County, will be there. Several students are coming to testify about what is happening in our schools. And we want to do more than wave banners and flags. I mean, I'm so appreciative of all the brave Americans and the patriots who are coming out and standing on freeway overpasses and all those things. But I think what we're seeing right now is a frustration that is continuing to rise. And so tonight we're going to help parents. We're going to give them the forms and teach them how to withdraw their children from the public school system and show them what options are available to them. We're going to be offering them the opportunity to sign initiatives and to actually get behind legislative efforts to rein in the power of the criminal that is sitting at the head of the state of Washington right now. And we're going to give them, there will be notaries there. We're going to be talking with them about their options for religious and medical exemptions, which frankly, I don't think is the right way to go in the end. But Lars, I am very concerned about what is coming to CD3. We are seeing an alarming rise in suicide, depression, anxiety. Our students are hurting. Our first responders now who are being forced to get an injection against their will or lose their job. We are in a state of emergency here in Washington State, thanks to the criminals who are running the state and this country. And tonight we're going to start to do something about it.
Now, just so I don't label this incorrectly, Heidi, when you say the criminal who sits at the head of the state of Washington, you're talking about Jay Inslee, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah. And and these ridiculous mask mandates and all the things that are coming back. And we're watching. I mean, I travel this district every single week to multiple events. And every time I stop and speak, grown men are coming up to me weeping over the loss of their jobs and the threat of having their livelihoods taken away from them. These are people who have been working in these industries and in the medical profession or first responders for 20 plus years with exemplary records, not so much as a scratch on their record, and they're being told, this is what you have to do or your job is over and your pension is lost. Tell me how that's not criminal. And that's coming down from the governor.
And by the way, I think it's affecting Oregon and Washington the same. I've called Jay Inslee and Kate Brown Tweedledee and Tweedledum because every time one does a stupid thing, the other one seems to feel compelled to do it as well. And I pointed out to my audience, there's some good evidence to show that it appears we're hitting a peak in COVID cases, and they're on their way down the other side, or will be within a few days or maybe a week. And with that in mind, the idea that they're now slapping on mask mandates, Kate Brown's outrageous one that applies not just indoors in public places, but out of doors in public places where you're around other people, is coming weeks into what they, if they saw a rise in cases and they said, okay, we'll respond to it, they're responding to it just as it appears to be hitting a peak and going down the other side. And we've seen these peaks and valleys for the last year and a half. Some of them don't seem to respond at all to anything governors do, but governors always want to appear to be doing something. I told you when we first talked about you running for Congress, I said, well, Congress has only a limited amount to say about the schools, but I can imagine one thing. If you become the successful replacement, and I haven't named a favorite yet among the challengers, but I've said I want Jamie Herrera Butler to be replaced, and she's still been willing to come on the show and try to make her case for it. I wish Congress would say, with all these other mandates and strings they attach to federal money, which is a tiny part of what Seattle, Portland, or any other school district gets to support itself. Most of the money comes locally. They said, if you want to take federal money, you have to give parents and students educational choice. They have to have the right to leave the school, the traditional school, and go to a private school, a charter school, some other kind of schooling, and take the funds with them. Congress could do that. Would you ever be willing to propose that kind of thing?
That is at the top of what I want to do. The time for educational choice is long over. I mean, we are so far beyond when we should have done that. We've got a crisis in our schools right now, and the federal government and our representatives in Congress have an opportunity to actually bring attention to it and say, look, our schools are on fire, and we can cut federal funding and encourage local control of the schools so that when the parents find out that their kids are being taught critical race theory and there's 400 genders and our country is inherently racist, they can go to that superintendent and say, thank you very much. I heard you're indoctrinating my child. This is my withdrawal letter, and the money should follow the child. It is way past time for that to happen.
So tonight, the Educational and Parents' Rights Freedom Rally, August 25th, 6 p.m., Philida Park. You're going to be there. You organized it. Your campaign organized it. What would you like to come out of that beyond what you've already said, Heidi?
I want people to feel empowered. I want people to feel like they actually have a voice in this thing. People in this district and in this country do not believe that they have a voice anymore, that anyone is even listening to them. And the question that we're asking right now is, can the United States survive another 3.5 years of a Democrat administration? I believe the answer is no. And so tonight we are going to give them tools. We're not just going to wave flags and banners and talk about how frustrated we are. We're going to give them tools. We have notaries coming to notarize exemptions for people. We're going to be giving them actual instructions so they can take away with them something they can do. We have got to start helping the citizens of CD3, and that is going to start tonight. And we hope everyone comes out. We're going to be talking about medical freedom also and talking about what's happening to our first responders and our doctors and nurses. Lars, I talked to a doctor last night, and I won't say what hospital he's from, but he's been there for 25 years, who is weeping because he is going to be forced to leave his practice over this ridiculous insanity that they want doctors and nurses to get an inoculation for a virus with a 99.89% survival rate. This is criminal on its face, and tonight we're going to give people tools to help them in the fight, really, which is against a corrupt government.
Philida Park, 6 p.m. You've got the Larson Show.